Hey traders, so welcome to the Sharks Training Academy's weekly market analysis. And before we kickstart, I'll show you how we took CADJPY on Friday. Alright, first we identify a breakout structure over here. Right, prices broke out, left behind an order block or demand zone over here. Right, so as prices came back down, we dive into the lower time frame. You can see on the 15 minutes, we have this refined zone. Right, this is the last sell to buy move. Right. And as prices steps into this level, we dive even further, the lower time frame. And can you see what is this schematic over here? We have a Wyckoff accumulation, right? We have the selling climax, automatic rally, we have the ST, we have the SOS, we have our ST and B. And over here, we actually mark this zone. You can see that this is the whole sell to buy move that broke out of structure. And in this case, as prices moved off away from here, we were looking to be buyers, right? But I want to be a buyer over here. Okay, I want prices to actually come back before moving off. So this was the initial plan. So you can see that prices actually left off and didn't come back, right? This is the first area where you can actually look for buys. And we actually missed this, and prices came back all the way down. So as prices came back down, we saw another schematic occurring, right? So let's drop down to the lower time frame on the 1 minute time frame. So can you see that on the 1 minute time frame over here, right? When you look right onto these current prices, you understand that this is the STMB that we marked out just now, right? And prices didn't come back all the way to mitigate this area, and instead it mitigated over here, right? Prices left off for quite some time, came back all the way down over here, and gave us a schematic. We have the selling climax, automatic rally, we have the ST, we have the SOS over here. Okay. We have a move down over here into our zone. So typically you could have been a buyer here if you weren't waiting for confirmation, because this STMB has been formed inside of our STMB of the previous schematic, right? So this is a valid demand zone on the lower time frame. And as prices steps into this level, you could have already been a buyer over here and stop loss below your STMB, which is here, right? And you can actually aim to partial along the way over here, here, and here, right? But this is not how we took the trade. We identified this schematic over here, right? And as prices breaks out of structure, we were actually waiting for a shift, because we do not want to be a buyer over here. We want to wait for a structural shift. And that is why with this impulse leg in play, we were waiting for a pullback and a deeper area to be mitigated. And you can see that prices created an equal low over here, right? Liquidated them and gave us a shift in structure. So this is the break of structure that we were looking for. And you can see that it left behind an order block over here, right? And this is how we took the trade. So you can actually place a buy limit here or wait for a confirmation over here. So this is how we actually took CADJPY. So over here we have the Euro Pound, and you can clearly see that we have identified this imbalance over here, right? So we use the wick of the third candle and the wick of the first candle. So this is how we identify the imbalance, right? And over here we have a demand zone. So prices are likely to fill this imbalance into this demand zone to give us a potential accumulation, right? To take prices higher, because we identified that this is the area that is looking for. So can you see that there is lots of manipulation inside of this price action? So as a smart money trader, right, you wouldn't participate inside of here. Why? Because first of all, you can see this trend line liquidity, right? In a retail standpoint, this is a trend line, and they usually trade off this trend line, right? And how do they do that? Can you see that prices bounce twice, the second time over here, and over the third time, it created this engulfing candle, right? And this serves as a confirmation candle. So usually they'll put the buy over here, stop loss below this level, and aim for the target, right? Over here. Previous high, right? And can you see what happened? Prices breaks down of this trend line, liquidating them. And this creates a bearish engulfing candle in their standpoint, correct? And they are likely to wait for a pullback, a test of this trend line before selling. So can you see that as prices test once, it gave a bearish candle, and this would be their entry. Stop loss above this breakdown candle, right? And aim for maybe this level over here, right? Because this is the previous low. Okay, over here or over here. Yeah. And can you see what happened? They got wicked out, and they undergo all of this up and down movement, not understanding that this is part of the manipulation, where prices are looking to create liquidity grabbing the orders to lower portions over here into our demand zone before giving us an accumulation to take prices higher. So we will have our first target over here, right? All of these wicks over here may serve as a trendline liquidity, right? And our next target will be over here, or even maybe higher, right? So our strategy over here is to take partials along the way. Over here, we have the Euro Yen, and you can see that there is a break of structure over here, right? And prices came back all the way down towards this last demand zone, right? And this is on the refined zone. And it gave us a shift in structure, leaving behind an order block over here and another one over here. So we can actually trade off two POIs, right? We can have the first one inside of here and the next one over here. So how do we approach this trade, right? So can you see that we may have a temporary buy inside of here to push prices into this level, and you can see this huge wick over here. It is likely to find an order block inside of here, right? This wick usually means that there is a supply inside of this wick, all right? So we are expecting buys over here into these areas before distributing down towards this demand zone and a move up, right? So this is the projection for Euro Yen. So what we want to see here would be to drop to the lower time frame. Understand that we have a demand zone here, right, where prices are actually approaching. So on the 5 minutes time frame, we have this trend line that's been liquidated, and we have this low that is being liquidated. So over here, we can actually label our schematic. We have this selling climax, automatic rally, we have the ST, we have an STMB over here, right? So this may be the spring that we want. So how do we trade over here, right? We'll wait for maybe a pullback into this area, right? This is a mini supply zone, right? So we may see this move, then a huge breakdown, creating the real spring. So maybe this would be another STMB over here, the spring, the shifts in structure, right? So if you're a Wyckoff trader, you don't have to typically wait for a break of the automatic rally, right? Because this is the real shift. If we see a strong shift over here, leaving behind order blocks or demand zones, and a break of structure over here, we can expect prices to tap onto this demand zone, give us a shift and a lower time frame confirmation, perhaps buying over here, right? Then breaking out of the AR and look for another pullback towards this area before buying into our 5 minutes POI, right? So over here, if we can look for a distribution, if prices gives us distribution schematic, right? So we may see a buying climax, automatic rally, ST, signs of weakness, then a UT, right, our uptrust, then maybe a UTAG, a breakdown, shifting into these areas, showing you the transfer of weak hands to strong hands before selling down, right, all the way towards this area that we're looking for on the 1 hour time frame, right? Because this is the origin of the breakout, right? This is the origin. So we have another demand zone over here, right? And if we see the same pattern over here, we see this Wyckoff appearing here, we can take it higher, right, to eventually liquidate this area. Okay, so this would be the trade idea for Euro Yen. So then again, prices may come back to get rejected over here to give us the real spring. Okay, so if you are not confident to take this shift, this structural shift over here, then simply wait for a break of the AR, right, and trade the pullback onto deeper areas. So trade what you see, okay, and maybe on the lower time frame or even the 3 minutes time frame, some of the traders may actually label the schematic this way. Can you see that we have a selling climax, we have an automatic rally, ST. In this case, we have a signs of strength, right? And now creating this STMB. So we may create the same spring over here. Then over here, you can identify that this is the break of the signs of strength. And on the lower time frame, you can actually you can look for buys, right, onto demand zones that may be left behind. So next up, we have the pound dollar. You can clearly identify a demand zone here, right? Can you see this demand zone? And prices actually got rejected off this, right? And if you drop down to the lower time frame, you can see that prices gave us a schematic over here and didn't give us a pullback except on the lower time frame, right? You may have got moves along the way. So can you see where prices are heading towards? Prices just broke out of structure over here, and we are looking to tap into this supply zone. Okay. So this strong breakout left behind an order block over here. Can you see this is an order block? Right? And we are looking for whichever that presents first. Okay, so if we see a move back up into this level, giving us a schematic, right? Distribution schematic. This is the first buying climax, right? We have the automatic rally, ST, then maybe a signs of weakness, a shift, giving us the UT, and then the UTED, right? To mitigate deeper areas before breaking down, showing us the shift. Maybe look for confirmation instead of here, right? So you can drop down to the lower time frame and look for the same exact move like this, the shift on the lower time frame inside of here. Take a sell all the way down towards this demand zone. Look for accumulation over here, right? Before moving up towards these areas inside of here, right? We are looking to liquidate positions inside of here into this supply zone. So this would be the trade idea for pound USD. Next, we have the New Zealand dollar. And you can see that we have a demand zone over here where prices taps into this perfectly. Left behind an order block over here. So this whole zone is a demand zone, right? And we can actually expect prices to come back down to mitigate these areas in future, right? But we do not know when will it be. So we have to identify a supply zone or a potential sell move to bring prices lower before the buy off, right? Remember, for prices to move higher, it has to sell to buy. So can you see this is a huge imbalance inside of here? And below this imbalance, right, we have a demand zone. So prices are likely to come back down to fill this imbalance, give us an accumulation before moving higher, right? And over here, we are looking at a demand zone. And maybe over here as well. So we are looking for sell to buy areas, okay? So if prices gives us a distribution again over here on the lower time frame, let's say 15 minutes time frame, if we start to see accumulation, right, buying climax, automatic rally, the ST, SOW, the shift, giving you the UT, come back down, the UTED, then we see a strong breakdown, pulling back, we can sell, expecting prices to move towards this imbalance over here, right? Filling this level, giving some sort of stopping action inside of here to push prices lower into this area. So you may be even refining this zone, right? You can refine this area over here, right, on the 15 minutes time frame, or even lower, right? Depends on you. Then we see a spring created inside of here, a shift, then buy, right? And this buy will make us believe that prices wants to test higher areas over here, right? It will eventually liquidate these levels over here, okay, in terms of trend line. And we are looking to move towards this demand zone. So next up, we have the dollar CAD, and you can see that over here we identified a supply zone, and prices actually taps into this. So this creates a break of structure, and we are likely to see a pullback onto supply areas before moving down, right? So can you see over here, we have lows that is going to be liquidated, and over here we have an imbalance, right? So prices are likely to fill this imbalance, taps into this demand zone, right? And we can expect some sort of accumulation over here to maybe push prices into supply zones over here, or even higher areas of our supply over here. You can see this is unmitigated, right? So prices may accumulate lower over here to give us a buy move into this refined zone before dropping off, right? So all of these are considerations, and that is why we'll never hold our trade, and we're always partials along the way. So our trade idea for this dollar Canadian would be prices tapping into this supply zone. You can see a shift, right? And on the 1 hour time frame, we have the spring over, we have the UTED over here. Okay, and this could be our UT, right? So this is our buying climax. Automatic rally, we have the ST over here. Okay, so buying climax, automatic rally, we have the ST UT that liquidates this trend line, right? Then we have the final liquidation of this area. Okay, creating the UTED before this strong shift down, breaking out of the schematic, and we can expect prices to give us a pullback, all right, onto these areas. So I'm actually targeting this area over here. So if we drop down to the lower time frame on the 30 minutes, we are looking for a move into this area. Okay, so I'll label this as the order block or the supply zone. So can you see this is the supply that broke out of structure, and now we're looking for a pullback on the lower time frame to give us the same schematic, right? the distribution move, right? The breaks, the shift into supply zones before the breakdown, all the way filling this imbalance, tapping onto this demand zone. And this would be the trade idea for dollar Canadian. Lastly, we have the dollar yen, and can you see where we are now? Prices are at a supply zone, and it broke out of structure recently. So this made us believe that prices are likely to visit the next area of demand, right? So can you see we have a huge imbalance inside of here, right? That prices are likely to fill, tap into our demand zone, and we will look for a structural shift over here. And if we see a structural shift over here, we can believe that prices wants to move higher or eventually tap into supply zones that are left unmitigated. All right. So can you see that this supply zone is originated from here? All right. We have this last buy to sell move that liquidates trend lines and highs over here, right? And it wasn't mitigated until now, right? So moving to current prices again, we have a break of structure over here. So for prices to move lower, we want to see a buy into supply zones to sell, filling imbalances, giving us an accumulation over here to push prices higher. Okay, so this is the projection for dollar yen. So let's go down to the lower time frame. So let's say on a 30 minutes time frame, we can identify a zone over here. Can you see this is a supply? And we want to see a pullback, right? We want to see pullbacks, a stopping action, showing us that sellers want to come into the market. We want to see a shift, right? And then potentially a U-tap over here, a breakdown, then a potential pullback to sell into this imbalance and onto our demand zone eventually. Okay, so then again, it depends on you, right? You can look for confirmations inside of here, or you can actually wait for the shift and immediately sell at market, or just put the sell limit over here. Okay, so all of these are fine. It depends on how you manage your trade. So over here, we just wait for a break of structure, which already happened. Look for a pullback into supply zones over here. Let structure tell us whether this zone over here wants to hold or not, right? If we see a strong breakthrough, prices keeps creating higher highs and higher lows, eventually breaking this level, then there's no cause for us to sell at all. And that's why wait for a structural shift, wait for the transfer of weak hands into strong hands before taking sells into lower prices. So to end this off, if you have stayed throughout the end, please visit our Facebook page over here and follow these steps in order to win a 3 months or 2 months or even a 1 month mentorship program. And have a great week ahead.